Hey, what's up, DIYers? Mike Boards with the Mike Boards channel. Thank you for watching. We're talking jet skis today. We are referencing a 951 DI or direct injection engine. We're going to focus directly in on the fuel distributor, and feeding from the front or left side if you're standing port side is a fuel line. And directly in between that fuel line and distributor is an O-ring, and we're going to show you how to replace that. And if that goes bad, you will basically lose compression and lack of acceleration. So again, we're going to show you how to fix that. Let's get started. All right, DIYers at the workstation, and in front of us here is my mom and dad's 2003 Sea-Doo GTX. Yes, inside the house, wife approved, green light. Not allowed to start it though. I promised her that. And again, in the event that your engine is bogging down or you have significant loss of acceleration, we are going to talk about one specific thing on the fuel distributor. Let's go and remove the seats and go inside the hull. However, real quick, let's focus on this back latch here. And notice how I can move it without any unfriendly sounds, no screeching, squealing, or screaming. And that's because we have it properly lubricated. And we continue to properly lubricate it over the years. And in the event that you don't lubricate your latches, well, unfortunately, you will get some unfriendly sounds. That latch itself will stiffen up and end up breaking if you're not careful. And down below in the comment section, as well as the description section, we are going to post several helpful videos on replacing several parts of this jet ski. How to lubricate your latch, how to replace the latch. We've got our step protective sleeve here. We show you how to remove your old one and install a brand new one. And a lot more. We replaced this little spring-loaded tab here. Check that out. That's brand new. Brand new start-stop cap, brand new start-stop push button and wire harness downstream. Brand new starter, ignition coils, plugs, wires, ignition, fuel injectors, air injectors, and a lot more. Again, check those out. We'll remove our seats at this point and go inside the hull. At this point, seats are removed and resting carefully and safely on the floor, as you can see here. And coming up to the hull, I am going to remove this plastic insert. And we are port side right now, as you can see. Let's go inside the hull. And there is the direct fuel injection distributor, and that is quite the impressive housing, and it contains two fuel injectors, a fuel regulator, which is right there, an air regulator, and two direct air injectors coming out of the bottom portion of the housing and feeding into the engine. And on the back side of that black housing are additional lines. However, we are here to direct our attention to the fuel lines that feed into the housing or distributor itself. And each of these little fittings inside here have an O-ring. And DIYers, in the event that you have lack of acceleration on your engine or it continues to bog down and you have replaced everything, well, it might be a dry rotted and faulty O-ring that has given way and created a leak in this section right here. Again, you've got an O-ring here and the additional line on the back side. Let me give you a closer view of it. As you see, right there, inside there is an O-ring that creates an airtight seal. So in the event that you have visible fuel leaking right here or the back fitting there, time to replace those O-rings. And that is exactly what we are going to show you how to do in this video. All right, DIYers, hey, a quick break in the action, and I just want to clarify before we move on. The hose that we are looking at right now that is feeding directly into the left side of the direct fuel injection distributor, again, if you're standing port side like we are right now, that is a fuel line and fuel fitting with an O-ring inside. However, on the aft end or back portion or right portion of the injection distributor, when standing port side, you have an air hose. And that is not going to leak fuel. If it is leaking fuel, that's a serious problem. But again, it's not supposed to leak fuel because fuel is not associated with that portion of the hose and pump. Again, it's an air hose. So in that case, you would hear a hissing or whistling sound in the event that that O-ring gives way or begins to leak, which in return causes issues. However, on the front end or left side of the distributor, you've got your fuel hose, and that will definitely leak fuel if the O-ring fails. So again, I just wanted to clarify that before moving on. And with that said, what I'll do is come down here and ensure that the battery is disconnected. Cut all electrical power to your engine. Here we are, starboard side coming inside the hull, and in our case, we have this electrical switch right here, and by turning it clockwise, it will restore all electrical power to the battery. As you can see, the black negative and red positive are still connected to the battery. But that switch allows us to cut all electrical power to the system by keeping our batteries connected to the terminals and cables. So again, ensure that your battery is fully disconnected, no electrical power being fed to your jet ski. Making our way around the jet ski. Hey, if you're into skateboarding, definitely check out the links below. We'll show you how to build your own custom logo skateboard and mount them on the wall. And I'm going to use the 2-stroke Mercury Marine Engine Oil Synthetic Blend to lubricate the new O-ring. There's the part number for the fuel line fitting O-ring. And here is our fuel schematic, and feeding out the top portion of the engine to our distributor. 58 right there is again the fuel line fitting O-ring. Alright DIYers, we're back, positioned kind of port side, looking at the fuel injection distributor on top of the engine, and for safety purposes I am going to remove the electrical connections for the fuel injectors as well as the spark plug boots. And some service manuals state to do this, some don't. So follow your service manual, that is my recommendation. I'll set those back. These little tension tabs here, they are thin aluminum. Do not damage them. Just push them in, as you see here, and carefully pull up and remove the electrical connection. I'll set that aside. Same thing back here. Just like that. And since we're here, hey, if you're ever curious what this is, in our case for our exact engine, that is what is called a knock sensor. And it monitors the internal cylinders. And in the event that the cylinder heads or any portion of the combustion chamber get offset and begin knocking and become unaligned, that knock sensor will pick up on it and immediately turn your engine into limp mode to protect everything that your jet ski has to offer. In addition, again, here is your fuel line and there is your air line. And on top, 2 fuel injectors, and here is a fuel regulator and an air regulator, and down below you've got 2 direct air injectors feeding into your engine and basically are in line with the bottom electrode of your spark plugs. And DIYers, in the event that your O-ring has failed on your air hose, your engine performance will degrade significantly because your fuel regulator and air regulator work together to provide a constant balance of fuel to air mixture and ratio to operate your engine at the efficiency that it is designed to operate and run. And I'll even shift this a little further back. Coming back outside of the hull again, port side, and DIYers, you don't actually have to remove your center seat brace. However, for your convenience, for better views and camera angles and lighting, I'm going to remove this. In our case, 4 10mm bolts. We'll loosen and remove those, pull this entire center brace up and out. And real quick, in the event that you choose to remove your center seat brace, again, you don't have to, but if you choose to, this piece, in most cases, has just a little bit of friendly adhesive there. Go ahead and carefully separate the two. We'll remove that as well as that whole ductwork. Much better access. In the meantime, there is where the 2 parts that we just removed will sit. Coming to the front storage compartment, hey, in the event that your storage compartment latch ever breaks, definitely check out the link down below in the comment section as well as the description section. We'll show you how to replace a latch. In our case, again, our jet ski has been in the house for several months, so the pressure inside the fuel tank, well, it isn't really built or pressurized. However, follow your exact serial number service manual to ensure that you are depressurizing your fuel system prior to moving on. In our case, again, the engine has been shut down for many months. There is no pressure built inside the lines. However, we are going to remove the cap. And here it is, our Craftsman 42-piece set my mom and dad got me for Christmas. This is awesome. And in our case, we need to grab the 5 right there, as you see. And that is a 3/8 connection. We'll grab our ratchet, head back inside the hull, and get that bolt removed. At this point, I've got the camera positioned in a way to give you, again, a better view of the direct fuel injection distributor, basically the left side where the fuel line fitting feeds into the distributor and is locked in place with the bolt and locking plate. And we are going to carefully align our ratchet and socket and bit and push it in there, make sure it's all the way flush with the inner portion of the bolt, and carefully loosen it up. And it should not be very tight because in the event that it was ever over tightened, it would immediately damage the O-ring, and that's not what you want. And DIYers, as you remove this bolt, do your absolute best not to drop it nor the plate down inside the engine hull. Chances are it would be gone forever. In addition, I inserted some paper towel to catch any and all fuel that leaks out, just for precautionary purposes. And from here, I'm going to just use the socket and bit to ever so carefully unscrew it until it is 100% free and I can pull the plate and bolt up and out without dropping it. And there is the bolt and plate. Go ahead and get that out of the hull before you drop it. And DIYers, before we pull that fuel fitting out of the distributor, your jet ski, depending on the year, make, and model, might require this exact tool. And we will post this down below in the comment section as well as the description section. However, in our case, it doesn't call for that because it is secured in place by that bolt and locking plate. In addition, on the opposite end where the air hose connects to, you have a fuel plug, and on this side you have an air plug. You can see it right there. And from here, again, placing my paper towel, and I'm going to carefully pull out the fuel line fitting. Just like that. Check that out. Not leaking any fuel because in previous videos and projects, we basically drained not only the pressure inside the fuel system, but the pressure and fuel inside this distributor by replacing both of the below air injectors and fuel injectors, as well as fuel regulator and air regulator. And check that out. Not bad. A little dirty right there. And to the pick tool, ever so carefully without scratching or damaging any portion of this fitting. Kind of get that pick tool underneath and through the O-ring as shown here. Lock it in place with your thumb and carefully pull it off the fitting as shown there. And before I head to the workbench, I am going to clean this fuel fitting. And it is dirty, but it's been 20 years, I'm guessing, since it has been removed from the distributor. And I'll grab a clean paper towel and again clean as much of this fitting as possible and really focus on the internal machine groove where the O-ring will seat into. And that looks pretty good. In addition, I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to clean the inner hole that the fuel line secures into. You want to get as much of that grime and corrosion and debris out of that little hole. We are back to the workbench, and here is the old O-ring. Again, we just removed from the fuel line hose fitting, and 20 years old. DIYers, it is not in bad condition. I'm impressed. Part number for our exact serial number service manual, replacement OEM O-ring. There it is. We'll go and open this and remove it from the packaging. And there it is, brand new. And I want to compare the two. Brand new one on the left-hand side, old one on the right-hand side. And boy, they are very similar in size. However, you can see the original one on the right-hand side that's 20 years old is just ever so slightly larger. And that's because of common sense. It has been on that fitting for 20 years, slightly stretched out and compressed to create that solid fuel tight seal. So obviously it will be just a bit larger. And again, the brand new O-ring. DIYers, do not buy O-rings from your local hardware store. And I say that because in the event that you make the mistake of installing an O-ring that is not specifically designed to take on extreme chemicals such as fuel and oil, chances are that black O-ring will only last maybe a few months or one season, and then you'll be right back to replacing it, which is not what you want. And I believe this is Viton and can take on and withstand fuel and oil all day long. However, back to the cap that the oil is on, and again, all I'm going to do is lubricate this O-ring and I'll set it inside the cap. And what we'll do is head back to the inner hull of the jet ski and get that O-ring installed on that fitting. Back inside the hull, and be very careful that you do not drop this. What I like to do, just like the air hose O-ring, I'm going to place it inside the groove and I'm going to pinch it and hold it in place with one thumb as I carefully feed the remaining portion of the O-ring onto the fitting. And it is not easy. However, once you get it on, ensure that the entire O-ring is properly seated inside that groove. And I'll grab some more injection grease and lubricate this fitting. And just like the air hose, our exact serial number service manual does not call for any additional sealant or lubricant to be added to this fitting prior to install. Double check your manual, yours might. And if all looks good, I'm going to carefully align it, and you want this going in as straight as possible and carefully push in with some friendly pressure until it clicks and is locked in place. Just like that. From here, I will carefully readjust the paper towel. Although the fuel is not leaking out at this point, I do want to keep that paper towel in place to basically act as a guard just in case I drop that bolt and locking plate. And with the locking plate all cleaned up on both sides, I'm going to install it as shown here. Align the bolt with the applied Loctite 518. And again, do your absolute best not to cross thread this and secure it in place. And I'm going to install the socket to give me better maneuverability as I screw this in. Again, do not cross thread this in place. And I will now revert back to the ratchet and carefully tighten it in place. And as you get close to the locking plate, again, adjust it and ensure it is properly placed on the fuel fitting. And I'm getting pretty close. Again, do not over tighten this bolt. You will damage the brand new installed O-ring. And from here, I want to push that locking plate forward and onto the fitting so it creates a solid connection to that fitting. And from here, ever so carefully, give it a last little bit of tighten. And remove the ratchet and socket. I'll carefully remove the paper towel. And at this point, double check everything. And if all looks good, what I'm going to do is reposition the camera and put everything back together. Got the camera repositioned, and again, just double check your fittings, the bolts, the lock plates. And if all looks good, I'm going to carefully resecure the electrical connections to our fuel injectors. Push down until the tension tab locks in place and clicks as shown there. And to the opposite fuel injector, same thing as shown there. Next, our spark plug boots, and align them, carefully push them down until you have ensured they are properly secured onto their respective plugs. And from here, DIYers, just double check everything. Again, if you've got any tools or flashlights or anything else helping you out during the project, just ensure you have removed them prior to starting the engine. Taking a step back out of the hull, I'm going to resecure my gas cap. Go ahead and secure the storage compartment to the latch stud. And we are going to resecure the center seat brace and ductwork. And I have resecured the center seat brace and reinserted the plastic housing there. Coming inside the hull. Again, just double check that you're not leaving any tools inside the engine compartment or hull or flashlights. And from here, go ahead and restore electrical power to your system by again hooking up your battery, or if you got a switch like ours, go ahead and turn the switch to the on position. And DIYers, obviously, I've been given the green light to bring the jet ski inside the house, but my wife never, ever once gave me the green light to ever start it inside the house for common sense reasons, right? So if you're waiting for me to start it, I'm not going to start it. However, from here, go ahead and carefully connect your desk key to the desk post here, and your electrical system should prime the fuel injection system. You will hear that turn on. It makes kind of a humming noise, and again, it is pressurizing the injection distributor and system. And from here, just check for leaks. And if you've got fuel leaking from here, or you hear any hissing in the back where the air hose connects to, well, you need to carefully remove the bolts and plate and reposition your O-rings accordingly and resecure everything to again create that fuel tight seal and airtight seal. And go and start your engine on a trailer, obviously, or on a stand with a garden hose hooked up to it. And once the engine starts, the PSI within the fuel system jumps dramatically. And check for leaks. If all looks well, go ahead and turn the engine off after maybe about 5 minutes of running, and secure the seats, and that completes the project. And seats are re-secured, DIYers. Again, we hope this helps, and we hope you check out that video where, again, we'll show you how to replace those O-rings. Get your engine performance back up to what it is expected and designed to do. We hope this helps. Hey, do us a favor below the video. You'll see that thumbs up icon. Click on that, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Definitely ring your YouTube bell. That would be very helpful to us. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks again for watching. And here are the old ignition coils. 2 brand new ones are installed. And a whole bunch of old parts here, injectors, regulators, and more. Old wires and boots, old temp sensors, old cap that goes on the start-stop switch and wire harness. If your jet ski is not starting conveniently, it might be as simple as replacing this little switch.